Hey guys, this is Ankit again. Welcome to my channel and happy Diwali to all of you. So today we are going to discuss on AWS FSx ONTAP Basics. Before starting on that, one thing I want to let you know, you guys will see me to create random topic videos. So what I'm doing here, whatever trending topics are there, I will create videos on that. In the same time, I will also create end-to-end video for storage, backup, and the cloud. But it will take time. So in the meantime, whatever trending topic I will think, I will make videos on that. And in the same time, you can share your input as well. You can let me know if you want to have a video on any specific topic. Message me, and I will make a video on that. But it will take some time, so it can be instantly. So please be patient on the same. So let's discuss now the AWS FSx ONTAP solution. So what is this? It is a storage solution. uh, Most probably most of the people, you guys heard about NetApp. It is one of the vendor for a storage. So AWS and NetApp did a collaboration, and now they have a service as a FSx ONTAP for a storage in AWS cloud. So when you will go there, FSx is there as a specific service. Under that, there are a couple of vendors are coming for the storage, like Luster is there, which provides high speed, high IO, NFS exports. The Windows file share is there. Then one FS is there. One GFS is there. Uh, those provides also a container kind of storage, and then FSx ONTAP is there. So FSx ONTAP is one kind of solution where you will get iSCSI, block learn, NFS export, SMB shares, everything. However, when you will create AWS FSx ONTAP cluster, you have some limitation on the cloud. You can't do end-to-end management. So the hardware aggregate, the network portion, how it will fail over, all these things, patching firmware, that will manage by the NetApp only internally. What you can do there, you can create your SVMs, volumes, the policies, snap mirror, NFS export, SMB share, iSCSI learns, and these kind of things. So there is certain limitation is there. So let's begin with the topics here. So let me talk about key component of FSx ONTAP. Here you can see I've given very small details here, because I don't want to go much deep on this particular video, because it is just a basic video. So let's start with the file system. A file system is the primary resource in Amazon FSx ONTAP, also known as an ONTAP cluster. So when you will create FSx ONTAP cluster there, it called as a file system. So don't confuse if someone will say, hey, FSx ONTAP file system. So don't think about an individual volume file system. It is a cluster when you will go and do that. So now the another important thing is the storage virtual machine. So a storage virtual machine is an isolated file server with its own administrative credentials and endpoints for administration and accessing data. So as you know that for the security purpose, for the isolation purpose, we are having SVM kind of configuration. Now the volumes here, the volumes are isolated data containers in which your files, directories, and iSCSI LUNs are stored. Another topic is snapshot, a point-in-time copy of your data. And then the snap mirror, important for DR, high availability. So it replicates volumes to another ONTAP system, and that can be used for high availability and the disaster recovery. Another thing is flex clone. So create thin copies of e-business data for non-production uses. This lowers cost for storage while reducing time to refresh a e-business DB environment. So on this topic, I will cover the basics of FSxONTAP, and then I will give you some example for NFS export and the database with the snap mirror and some refresh solution. So you will know how the refresh and how the snapshot and other things work. Okay. And when you will talk about the flex clone here, so flex clone is also a point in time copy of your data, but it's give you the facility to write on it. Okay. So once you will create the flex clone volume, it is a writable copy of the volume, but that will not impact your production and that will not use any extra space. Once it create, it has all the pointers from parent volume only. Okay, but whatever modification you will do, that will store on that volume. And most of this kind of volumes needed when you want to do some testing, right? You have your production database environment, and you want to test something before deploy on the production, so you need this kind of volumes where you don't need to consume more space of the cluster, and in the same time you can do all kind of testing there. And there is one more facility: you can split this clone volume, and it will have all the data pointers copy from the parent to the clone volume, and it will become an individual volume which will be having all the data from parent volume, whatever you needed and whatever modification you did as well. So this volume will work as an individual volume, and you can, if you deploy something there and it works fine and you want to use this volume as a production volume, you can do that as well. So it depends upon your plan or how you want to execute, but most of time people do the testing and split the volume and delete it. Okay, so let's go on the next slide here. Here it is a snap mirror prerequisite and configurations are there. So suppose if we are going to do the snap mirror, so what are the things needed here? Okay, so definitely the VPC pairing. VPC network pairing connects to virtual private networks so that resources in each network can communicate with each other. Okay, we'll talk about this more on the next slide. Now the cluster pairing supports the mirroring of a storage virtual machines. Okay, and then the V servers are here, that is the SVMs, so that pairing is also needed. So under that volume can be replicate. So further, when you will go and configure SnapMirror configuration, you need to create the volume on the target, SnapMirror policy, SnapMirror relation, and then initialize the SnapMirror. Okay, and there are lots of other things are there which I don't want to discuss on this video, so it is just a bit of detail. And suppose now you have your database environment and you are going to create a SnapMirror relationship, and whatever data is going to replicate on the DR cluster or the dev cluster you want to use for your dev testing. Okay, so there are a couple of scenario can be done. One thing is you want to do a DR test, you can directly do that, right? You can break the relationship and you can use the DR volume, and you can do your all the testing. But if you want to do a long time testing and you don't want to impact your SnapMirror relationship, like you still want to have the replicate those data, so in a kind of disaster solution you can use that. So in that way you need a flex clone volume, or you can make another relationship on the same cluster volume. So that will be a bit complex, but yeah, it is a easy things to do. So what you need to do, you need to create a snapshot uh, on your production volume, okay, and then you need to update your snap mirror so it can replicate to the destination under the same volume or the SVM accordingly. And then you can use that particular snapshot to create a flex clone volume. So here two things are important. When you will create a snapshot on the production, and the same snapshot will replicate to the destination, and then you are using that snapshot uh, to use for a flex clone, okay, and you are keeping the snapshot in the production as well, you need to make sure you will delete that snapshot once the testing will be done and the flex one clone will be splitted. Otherwise it will consume more and more data, because it is a point in time copy. Whatever modification will happen on the production volume, so in the same time they will keep the older data and the new data as well, so that way it will increase the size of volume. Okay, so it is a bit complex, I can say that, which I will later simply explain. So let's go with this scenario where you are having a database and you want to do a dev testing. So the same thing, you need to create a snapshot that will replicate, and then you can create a flex clone volume from there, and then you can mount the flex clone volume in your non-prod Oracle and app server, and then you can finalize your Oracle and application operations. Okay, you can, if you need to update some of your configuration file or somewhere, you can do that, and then mount the clone volumes, start your services, validate the database and write it and check. Okay, and then the same time you will bring your database up as well, definitely. So all these things you need to do, and this is just a testing I'm explaining here, if you want to do that with the snap mirror. Okay, so let's go with the so here I want to explain couple of stuff when you talk about the FSxONTAP VPC, subnet, routing table, routes, natting or NAT gateway, you will say S3 bucket and transit gateway. So see, when you are working in the cloud, the VPC is very important, virtual private network. Okay, you should be having a VPC. Okay, so isolated, it will isolate you from the outside. Okay, you are having a VPC, under that you will have your subnet, you will have the routing table, you will have the security group, different kind of, and other things as well. So here I will not go deep on the VPC explanation, but when you have a you need to choose your VPC, and accordingly you need to choose your subnet. Okay, you will have private and public subnet. You need to choose your private subnet, A, B, C kind of subnets, private subnets will be there. So when you will talk about FSxONTAP solution, there are single AG solution, availability zone, or multi. Okay, so it will be multi or single. So once you are going to deploy a single availability zone FSxONTAP, it will be you can choose any one of them. If you are going to multi, then you need to choose two of them. Okay, so whatever you want to choose, you can do that, and then the routing table will come in the picture. So you need to choose the routing table, not the default one. So whatever default routing table will be there, that is directly associated with the VPC, and that is not in use. Mainly the routing table which is associated with the subnet, that you need to use. So in that way, if any routes need to be add, that can be add. Okay, there. So on the single AG, most probably you will not face much issues, but when you are deploying a multi AG solution, that time it creates a endpoint network. Okay, Once it creates an endpoint network, that time there are multiple options are there. When you will go, it will allow to choose within the VPC, or it will create its own subnet outside of the VPC. So sometime that option to create the IP pool within the VPC is disabled, and you need to go with the with the different subnet which is outside of VPC. Then there is a requirement to choose properly those subnet, so it will make auto routing entry for the endpoint network, whether it is for FSx file system or SVM. So the communication can be done on both the availability zone, and people can access the share or NFX export from both the availability zone. So it will make the entry, and once the failover event happen, it will automatically change the NIC ID. So that will be far like deep on that. Maybe you will get a bit confused. So later I will explain you, once I will show you a couple of diagrams, so maybe you will be able to understand. So we cover the VPC, we cover the subnet is needed because that is where IP will be assigning, and the routing table is needed to make the communication. So as you have seen earlier, the VPC pairing we are saying. So suppose you are having a prod VPC or you are having a non-prod VPC. So to communicate with each other, you have deployed one of your cluster here and one of your cluster dev cluster here. To communicate that, you need to have the VPC pairing where all the 4 subnets, at least 2 from here and 2 from here, will be added there, and it will do the communication. And you will have a routing table for your routes. Security group is important. You know that for any kind of instances or any cluster, this is the last point of gateway, you can say, where you need to make the entry. Otherwise you will not able to access any of the resources under that, whatever resources is associated with the same. So the security group, you need to make the port open, and whatever you is needed, you need to do that. Then only you can communicate. Okay. Now the netting is important, where you know that your instances are in a private network, and in the same time, out of the VPC, it wants to communicate on the services, other services which are out of the VPC. That time netting is needed, so the address can be NAT, and it will be able to access those services outside of the VPC, but in the same time those outer services can't directly make a connection with your instances. So for that we need that. Then the S3 bucket is there. So S3 bucket is also there to map it on the VPC. Once we will create the VPC, all these things will come, netting and the S3 bucket, if you want to do a communication or not. So you need to do all these things. Otherwise, suppose you haven't choose S3 bucket and you want to make a communication, then you will not able to do that. So you need to configure that. Now the transit gateway. So transit gateway is very important. So it easy your networking stuff. Okay, so here on the VPC you are doing VPC pairing. Suppose you are having multiple VPC and you want to communicate with on-prem. So it is working as a hub, okay, which allows you to communicate with on-prem and the VPC. There will be less pairing and less other things are there, routing and other stuff will be bit less, and it will that will manage by the transit gateway, and it will be easy to make the communication. So here one of the example I am giving you, just like this endpoint network. So for this endpoint network, there is one specific subnet has been created which is outside of the VPC. Okay, so now you made the routes entry, okay, entry on the routing table, okay, routing table to make the communication on AWS. But what about the on-prem? If suppose on-prem want to communicate with this endpoint network, how it will do? It will reach to AWS normal subnets, but it will not able to reach to this endpoint subnet. Why? Because it is different. It is outside of the VPC. That time, if you are having a transit gateway, then only you can make the communication. Okay, and it is costly as well. It is a chargeable, so people are not creating the same. So there are a couple of scenario, and if you are having a very complex network, then you need this. Okay, so I'm hoping I'm able to explain it. I know that like these are the very different topics, so if you are not familiar with these topic, it will be a bit complex. However, once I will create the videos specific on these topic or the cloud, then I will explain more here. Okay, so let's talk about the requirement. What are the ports requirement are there once you deploy your FSxONTAP? So once you deploy your FSxONTAP, the port requirement will be 22 for SSH connection with the cluster management and node management. For NFS 2049, as I was not talking about SMB, so I haven't mentioned that, but 445 is the SMB, and these three are for your snap mirror communication. So each of the cluster security group need to have these ports open with the IP of intercluster. So there is a different IP for intercluster that need to be open with these three. So the communication can be done, and the data can be like relation and other thing can be make, and then you can do the configuration and the data transfer. So it is important. So now let's go with the diagram stuff. Okay, so you will be able to understand bit of the stuff here. Okay, so here you can see the diagram. I made couple of diagram here to make you understand like how it can be done. I have added EFS file system as well. So EFS is the AWS file system for share purpose. NFS export actually it is, but there it is called share, so I'm saying that it is actually NFS export. Okay, so people can use NFS export as well directly for their database, and they can use that. But when you need a environment where you want to replicate the same data to other VPC, and then you want to do some testing and other things, so that facility currently is not with EFS. So you need to deploy FSxONTAP or some other solution which supports this. Okay, so before going further on that, you can see this diagram, and you can you think about like where I made this. Okay, so I have exposure on Visio, Lucid, and like Draw.io, but this video I have made on PPT only. Okay, so I was in hurry, so that's why I need to like make this. So I use the AWS icons, so anyone can download those icons and can make any diagram on PPT or anywhere else. So it's easy. You just need to have your concept clear, like how you want to do that. So as I have exposure and making the diagram, so that's why it was easy for me. But if anyone wants to learn to make the diagram, who doesn't have the software and just want to use that, I can guide him. There's no issue. You guys can reach to me or ping me, so we can I can guide you on that. So let's talk about this diagram, and we have couple of other diagrams, so where I will give you some exposure on FSxONTAP failover and other things as well. So on this scenario, you can see there is an account, AWS account, then there is a region is there, then there is a availability zone under this VPC. There is a VPC under one single availability zone, And then there is a subnet. When you are having a single availability zone, you are associated with the subnet. So here you are having your FSx on tap cluster, and here you are having your production with the volumes are there. So now there can be a scenario where you are deploying a FSx on tap, and in the same location, the team wants to do some testing and they wants to have the snapshot, the clone snapshot. It is highly unlikely it will not happen, but sometime we have seen that still people want to directly have the clone volume. Why we are saying it should not be done? Because when you are directly creating the clone volume from the production, as it is a point in time and it use the pointer from the parent one, so once the write will done here, and if it is a heavy write, it will load to the parent volume only. Okay, and that way you can have the performance issue. So that can be happen. So here let me explain a bit of the diagram here. So here these are the volumes are there, and the two type of flex clone happen here. So I have given this, you can see even a kind of coloring I did, so you can able to understand which one is going where. And here we are having dev and stage cluster, like the volumes, so which can be used. In the same time, for some other uses you can use EFS. I have also color coded, so you can know that where it is getting to connect or where not. Okay, so this is the scenario. One scenario can happen, but it is highly unlikely. People will not do that. Let's go with the second scenario. Okay, here the same thing, you are having AWS account, region, availability zone, VPC. Under this VPC, subnet is there, but you can see two of the cluster here and doing the snap mirroring. Okay, so it can be there on the single AG, or what it can be done, it can be on 2 AG as well. One AG for the production and one AG for the non-prod. It can be done. Okay, but here so for a easy purpose, I have given a single availability zone, and there you are having two cluster. So what is happening here, you are having a EFS. From there you are accessing from for the both the availability zone or single availability zone, whatever. You can create EFS as a region or as a availability zone, so it can be accessible from anywhere on that region or individual availability zone. Okay, and you can see the color coding. So here what is happening, it is having the production volume, and it is having its base snapshot. When you are creating a snap mirror, it will have its base snapshot. So snap mirror is happening and it is going to this particular cluster. Okay, and here you are having your DR volumes or your dev volumes. This is the primary volume, but it will be in the data protected mode. Okay, you can't write it or read it, you can't do that. So what you need to do here, you can create the flex clone volume from the snapshot, which is getting a base snapshot replicate, but it could impact your snap mirror relationship. So how you can achieve this, you need to create the manual snapshot here, and that manual snapshot will via the snap mirror update command, or like if you are giving a scheduled time for snap mirror, 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever, it will go and replicate that even if you will not run the snap mirror update command. And then you are having your golden copy or the DR or the whatever you can say that here you will have the snapshot, extra snapshot. Okay, and under that snapshot you can use to create multiple volumes, clone volumes. You can do that, but this scenario I have given, so we are creating multiple snapshot and we are creating these flex clone for individual point in time. So suppose you are having multiple databases, okay, for the dev, for the testing, then you can go with this kind of scenario. So these are the easy scenarios are there, but when you will go for the enterprise kind of application, let me show you how it can be. Okay, so this is the enterprise level solution. Okay, where you are having your AWS account, your region, and then you are having your VPC, prod VPC, and you are having your dev VPC. Okay, the prod and development, and you are having your multi AG cluster here. Before we seen the single AG cluster, but here you can see multi AG cluster, because if you are having a critical application with the database, you want to have your fault tolerance as well. Okay, so now again it is a EFS file system, and then this is the production primary and the secondary set of application and database volumes. So if something will go wrong here, it can be fail over here. Okay, and this kind of you can see that where it is mounted, I have color coded as well, so you can see the now here you can see that for multi AG I have described on bit of I want to explain this what is in the internal hardware level, how it is configured. So when you will see on the multi AG, there is a definitely two controllers are there. Okay, so this is the preferred controller, this is the secondary controller, and you will have your volume, and internally they are having the volume is also like they are communicating with each other. Okay, so once you are having any kind of issue in your this availability zone, this will fail over to here. Okay, so everything will be fail over to here. How it will fail over? So it is internally configured with NetApp. We don't have any expertise on that or can see that, but what we can need to configure or make sure, we need to have proper same security group associated with both the NIC. Okay, and the routing is properly added. Okay, it will automatically add it, so you can do one testing as well. Once you initially deploy, you can change your bandwidth. Okay, once you create your cluster, you will have the bandwidth option. What you need to choose, you can choose whatever is required, and later you can do a change on that. So once you will do a change, it will do a failover. So you can open your routing table of those subnet, and there you can see that if the NIC is getting changed or not, and it will change. And in the same time, your NFS export should be mounted on the server, so you can see that even changing the NIC on those routings, there will be no impact. Okay, and how it's work. So now this is the multi AG cluster, and now this is a single dev cluster. So you will have your snap mirror configuration on there, and the same it is EFS and the flex clone, and your DR volumes are there, which is getting replicated. So once you are having a single AG, how it is configured, so you are having active host or standby host. Okay, here also you will have two NIC. You need to make sure your security group will be assigned to both the NIC, so there should not be any issue. And that's why I grayed out it is a secondary host. When this particular go down, here also you are having the fault tolerance, but it is on the same AG. If this whole AG will go down, you can't do anything. But if there is any issue with the one controller, it will fail over to the secondary controller. You just need to make sure your configurations should be done properly. So in the same time, the snap mirror is happening, and then the snap mirror copies are going here, and you are having base snapshot. So when you want to have your clone volume, same thing, you will create here the snapshot, manual snapshot, that will replicate here, and from there in the point in time you can create a number of clone volumes as per your snapshot. Okay, and you can use it, but you need to make sure whenever you are creating a flex clone volume, it will not use any space, but whatever modification will be done, that space will be there. And once you split it, it need same amount of space which your parent is having, most probably, or there is a command to check that how many data that will move once you split that. So you need to make sure you and don't run multiple splits. Okay, because it in the internally it will transfer the data, and some way, some kind, it can impact your performance as well. So make sure you are not running too much split volumes in your file system or cluster. Okay, you need to make sure that. So that is all for FSxONTAP. Let me recap it. If I miss something, I will add there. Once you will go and create FSxONTAP file system, you need to make sure for what you want to do that. Okay, and what is the requirement, and the costing is very important here. One thing I miss here: when you will deploy a FSxONTAP volume, okay, you need to give the file system size. Okay, it is not like EFS, whatever you will use and it will be charged like that. No, you will going to have like you will need to create a size there. Whatever size you will give, whether you are using or not, it will charge for that. That is the first thing. Second thing will be there, that is let me clean this up. Okay, and then I will let you know couple of more things about that. So suppose you have create a file system for 10 TB. Okay, you will not get 10 TB space, so 30% will be reserved by ONTAP plus root snapshots. So 30% will be reserved for that, and then this 30% will definitely less once the size will increase. Okay, there is some certain calculation you need to do that, and that way. And in the same time, once you are having, suppose you are having a 10 TB of aggregate, and the 30% not for the 10 TB, I think it could be some less, because the size is growing. So suppose you are getting a 8 TB of logical space. Okay, logical space. Now you need to make sure you are using only 70 to 75% this space for better performance. Okay, otherwise you could have IOPS or latency issue. So that is the recommendation. So suppose 70 or 75% for that. So you can use around 6.5 TB or kind of out of 10 TB. So you need to calculate properly here. Okay, and accordingly it will cost you. Same thing, what bandwidth, okay, you are choosing, that is also costing. Okay, the bandwidth. So you need to make sure what bandwidth is actually required. Accordingly it will cost you. The single AG and multi AG, it will cost you differently. Then there are other things are also there. The where the data will be write, it will write on NVMe, or it will write on, okay, let me clear this. NVMe or other storage, or SSD you can say here, or other storage. Okay, or even you can have a policy where the data writes, initial data will write to the definitely on the SSD, but for the after certain time it will move to the other storage. So you have different policy there. So you need to make sure how important your data accessibility and performance, and if it older for 30 days or more, then it can be moved to other storage, and that way you can save some money there. Okay, So this is important. The tagging is also important, like everything, all the instance and everything, you need to be tagged accordingly. So it use in multiple ways for the tagging you will do. One other thing is that the initial file system, SVM, or volumes you can create from the GUI, okay, but later all the modification need to be done from the CLI. So you need to have a jump host or a rule to access from on-prem to do all those things from the CLI. You will not have more facility from the AWS. Otherwise, you need to deploy REST API software. Blue XP is there for the software to manage the snap mirror and other thing. So those are the things are there. You can do automation from Ansible and other tool as well. So those are the facilities are there, so that you can do that. So that is the later time when you will think you need to do those things. And then you should have knowledge of the basic NetApp. That is important. Otherwise, how you will changes the volumes, create the NFS export with the junction path, or even SMB share the permissions, and the snapshot schedule or snap mirror or other thing. That is needed, the basic knowledge of NetApp. Otherwise, you will not able to understand. So I'm hoping I'm able to give you a not basic, I think it is a bit of details I have added here, but yeah, I'm hoping you will be able to understand. So guys, that's all for today. And if you guys think any modification, or like I'm lacking something, please give your feedback. Okay, it is very important. I'm new on this thing, video creation, or doing this teaching stuff. I need to create videos in one go, because I don't have that kind of application where I can do video editing and all. So it is a bit of tough to go in one way and have everything covered. I can miss multiple things, but I will try, and later I will definitely have a application also, but that will take time. Okay guys, then thank you.